So today we're going to Dover Castle, but to get there, this is our hotel right here, and to get there, well, we have to go up the steep hill all the way to the top. So we're going to see how well that this works for us. We may end up calling a taxi.
I'm going to die.
You're not going to die. I would like to say this stop was for a photo shoot, but no, we were about to die. It's a tough hike going uphill. The prices for the tour here, Dover Castle. And if you're looking for a little bit of a discount, try to get your guide. That'll give you a little bit of a discount. So we're most of the way up here now. We're going to the tunnels. Now, if you were to buy your tickets at the ticket booth, well, you're going to end up shelling out about $92 for 2 tickets. But what we ended up doing was booking a little bit in advance. Here you can see it's £68 for 2 tickets for a total of $92, a little over. But if you go it a little bit in advance and buy your tickets through Get Your Guide, we bought 2 tickets for $76, a little over $76. So a good bit of savings, roughly $15, $16 savings by buying your tickets a week in advance. And it was good right at the gate. We just printed out a mobile voucher, printed it out on our printer, and brought it with us. They scanned it in, and we were right in. You could also save a little bit more by going to Capital One. There, we saved roughly 9% extra whenever that we bought through Capital One, the shopper guide, the Capital One offers. So we saved a little bit more by buying it through the website and Get Your Guide than booking it right at the ticket counter. So this is Dover Harbor. Look out, if you can see way off in the distance is France. That's where the prisoners or the soldiers were evacuated at Dunkirk. And this is Dover Harbor all the way around. I don't know if you're going to be able to see them or not, but right down in the water is a swimmer who's swimming in this cold water. Like I say, you can see way off in the distance is France. And as soon as we get to the top of the hill, the first thing we do is go to the tunnels. Here, there's a hospital and some tunnels showing you how that people lived underground. There's roughly 5 miles of tunnels underneath Dover Castle, buried up in the white cliffs. And the white cliffs are white because they're made of chalk, so it's easy digging. But I'm not allowed to video anything inside the tunnels, so that's why I cut the video off and show you a little bit later. So I couldn't show you any of the inner tunnels, but where I'm standing at is a old gun emplacement. You see the big windows right here? That once housed guns so that they could look out the side of the cliff. All around the cliffs were gun emplacements to shoot from the cliffs out to invading ships. And in case you look way off in the distance, you can see France way over there. Barely see it, the skyline and the trees. But what happened is the Germans would fire shells all day and all night toward Dover Castle. So in the tunnels held thousands of people, soldiers and civilians hiding out in the tunnels. So this was a good hideout for them. But more importantly, right now what's here is something for Cheryl, a gift shop. Yep, they turned a gun emplacement to a gift shop. And now some of the tunnels we can show you because, well, they had no important value. But these tunnels, some of them were built back as far as the 1700s. So they weren't new to Dover Castle. They were there long before World War I and World War II. So they've been there for the long time. They estimate that they were back in the Napoleonic Wars and possibly before. They aren't sure how old that the tunnels are, but there's a lot of them snaking all up underneath the castle. And whenever that we were out at sea, we could look back and see a few more of the gun emplacements all around the cliffside of the White Cliffs of Dover. And here we're entering out, And we see one of the World War II gun emplacements that's not in the tunnels. This was out in the wide open, so they could fire back at the Germans all the way in France from some of these guns that are out on the edge. So we're at the castle and trying some different snacks. A chocolate bar that has, well, it's ice cream that has a chocolate bar in the center. Odd. A feast bar. And we got a couple waters, cucumber sandwich, weird bag of chips, cheese and onion, different kind of snacks. The Dover Castle grounds are some pretty scenic areas. Here you can see where they cut a path through the cliffs, and it also gives us a good place to stop and take a break, because we've been walking uphill now for what seems like hours, going through the tunnels, and still haven't made it to the castle yet. And we finally come to the first gate around the castle. We still have a little way to get to the castle, but this gate was built around 1200 as one of the outer walls. You can see the castle off still a little ways in the distance across the field, but this one was like a firing gate in the 1200s. So this would have people inside there firing crossbows or whatever other kind of weapons that they might have back then, shooting them at anybody advancing the castle. And whoever was advancing at the castle had to be tired by now, because we are tired too. And we take another little break right here. And this is the first of several drawbridges that we cross entering the castle. You'll see others a little ways further up that are inside the castle. So yeah, there's drawbridges inside. This is an exterior drawbridge. And to top it off, whenever that the drawbridge was lifted up, you could see the change and where they would pull it up. But past this, there's another gate inside the drawbridge house. So they could lower this down also to keep people from charging the castle. So a whole lot of lines of defense for somebody that's trying to get in here. And yes, we're going to go all the way to the top of the castle, as far as we can go. Lots of steps. And as we enter the castle, there's a little welcome area. Here it's set up like a little church, but I'm not sure there was a church there then. Never know what it was. Could have been a little welcome area though. But as we go through this first set of doors, you can see where the people in front of us are walking, there's light. That's because that's an inner drawbridge within the castle. So they would lift this bridge up inside the castle and totally get people who were trying to charge the castle off guard, because they would probably think, we have them made now. And then there's another drawbridge. And you can't see it, but this dropped down probably 30 to 40 feet below us. So a long drop. I'm not sure how far that they would have to go down to get water, but this looked like an area where that they could draw water up out of a well. But we're on a chalk cliff, so I'm not sure how far down it goes for water, but it had to be a long ways down. And right off this area where that the water is the king's chamber. This is all a reenactment, what they think that the king's chamber would have looked like in the old days. All the fabric and all around there has gone heavy into research, trying to figure out what it was like. And this is what they estimate this chamber would have looked like in like the 1600s. So a pretty good little area right here. Not sure how accurate it is or what. Everything's real brightly colored. Not sure where they would have got the bright colors in the old days. But I see the chair up there, the Queen's chair. And it's made for my queen. And inside the castle, they have a little bit of a reenactment, showing you the past kings and queens who lived in the castle, all with a little bit of humor attached, of course. But it was pretty interesting to sit and watch for 30 minutes or so, and allowed us to catch our breath after the long climb up all these stairs to get in the castle.
Bonjour. Ça va? Je t'aime. Oui. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oui.
And Louis and Eleanor were very
il y a un problème.
And that is that while Eleanor did bear Louis 2 children, they were only daughters.
What? Oh no, this is very disappointing. Je ne suis pas heureux. Il faut que tu dois partir.
I am your wife.
Au revoir.
I will not part here, for you cannot get rid of me. I am the queen.
Je te déteste.
Ah! I'm angry too. Je te detest you as well.
Je veux un fils, pas une fille.
Let's talk to the Pope.
Oui. Oh, we need a pope. Here is the great Pope, the Holy Pope.
And as I scrambled to one of the back corners of the castle, you could see just how thick the walls are on here. Not sure what this was used for, maybe a firing position or something, but it's an excellent view down to the city. And of course, all the way across to the other side of Dover. We were looking for our hotel, but we're still way down below the edge of the cliff, so we will not be able to see our hotel from even the highest point on Dover Castle. It's a long ways down. And you can see all the way on the other side, the other hill, is another fort. That'll be for another day. And I'm taking that this is as high up as we can go, because from here you can see down at most of Dover. See below the clump of trees and all right there is about where our hotel is. So we have climbed up a lot of flights of stairs today. All of the hills off in the distance. And from one of the other walls of the castle, you could see, thinking this is east, back across England, at more of the fortifications that are over here. You can all see the, like somebody did a prototype of a trebuchet down there, catapult. Bunch of cannons and more earthworks going off in the distance. And the rest of Dover. This is the south side, looking out toward the English Channel. Of course, our ship is going to be parked over there where this ship is now. So we'll have a better view of the English Channel later, possibly. But if you look off way in the distance here, you may not be able to pick it up. I'll zoom in as much as I can, but I can make out just on the horizon the French coast. So earlier we learned a good bit about Dunkirk, where I couldn't take any photos down in the tunnels, but it was telling about rescuing the soldiers at Dunkirk, which is right across there. And the top is just a big flat area with chimneys coming down. And you could smell the smoke up here. You could also see where they had a few gun emplacements on this side, that there was a stand there. But it smells of smoke. And we have finally found it. This is where that the office of the king is, you could say. The royal pooper. Not sure how far down it goes, but that's where the bathroom is. Of course, he had a little slit of light over here to go by. The royal toilet. Of course, it's right next to the dining room. So, get some bad food, you don't have far to go. back into a bedroom. And they actually have a fire going.
I used to come up here as a kid, and when I come up here in the 70s, the underground tunnel.
And on both sides, we have been going downstairs, it seems like forever. But we are going slowly but surely down, no hurry. We'll see something flat coming up finally. Finally, a level spot. It's like the butcher shop. And maybe this is where the liquor was stored at, or brewed. So I found the trebuchet. It looks like it's a kid's play area. They are simulating launching a trebuchet. So, another little section over there you could stop and take a break at. And this is what Dover Castle would have looked like in 1216. Notice all the bridges and wooden stuff that's outside. And inside they probably have some wooden structures also. Those could have all been burned if they were under distress by somebody coming to attack them. That way they couldn't get in the castle. And this is how a trebuchet works. And the oldest structure at the castle is this Roman lighthouse from 130. And it sits right next to a church. So as always, we have to go in and see the church and see as much of the lighthouse as we can. It looks like the Romans are still attacking. So this is looking from the inner of the lighthouse, looking up all the way to the top. And there's a wooden platform up there that wouldn't have been there. But you can see down here on the bottom all the charring from where the fires were. And you can also see the local inhabitants, birds, pigeons. Next, right next to here is a church. So as always, we have to go inside any church. The church has a lot of woodwork on the ceiling because back in the day, the church builders were also the boat builders. So they used that they knew how to work arches. Looking online, I couldn't find out how old that the church is, but they said that they think it starts from 600 to 1000 is when it was first constructed, but it's been heavily restored over the years until its current condition, where it's currently an active church. Services are held here on occasion. I think it said it was the second Sunday of each month. Probably the best view is out from the ocean. From here, you can see the church, the Roman lighthouse, and off in the distance, Dover Castle. See the British flag flying high way at the top of the castle. That's where we were at earlier, walking around. So we went all the way to the top and back down. And looking out toward the sea, you could see all of the harbor and a good bit of Dover back over this way. So we have been doing a lot of steps today. Curious to see how many steps that we walked. Yesterday, we had over 15,000.
To get the men to stand to the guns just in case. Righto. There's a couple of our destroyers out there too. They've probably made wireless contact with her already. I'll keep you informed. Best not keep your Langdon boy standing around in the cold, eh? Indeed. I'll tell them of your concern, and don't keep them too long, or else they'll be after a ton of your rum.
So this is the command post for firing over here. All the big guns of Dover can train back on the other side, close to Dunkirk. So if they had a fire command, they can call over here and then plot the course, see how that they did. So the fire command post at Dover Castle. And finally, we are back in the city. Time to relax and go get a bite to eat after all this walking. We went to a little Italian restaurant that was near the hotel. Good food. I forgot to take the picture at first because we were so hungry. But yeah, it was good. And that is an end to the day in Dover. And in case you're wondering how many steps we had to take, it was a little over 15,000. Wish I would have known how many flights of stairs, but it was a lot of stairs. And hopefully you enjoyed this video, and join us next week as we get on the cruise ship. Our cruise finally starts to go to Iceland. So we'll see you next week, and thanks for watching.